I'm Mandolin Graham, member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and licensed trauma therapist. I would like to share a quick note with you before you watch the following video. Maternal infant mortality and morbidity rates among Black mothers and babies are incredibly disproportionate. However, these rates are more than just numbers. I invite you to listen to the stories of mothers who have experienced complications during and following pregnancy, such as spontaneous coronary dissection, hemorrhage, and loss of their infants. They will discuss not only these events, but also how the trauma of these tragedies impacted their mental health, as well as special notes they like to provide to other mothers and providers working with Black mothers. Thank you for taking the time to listen to their stories.
October 14th, 2007. I actually thought I had to go to the bathroom because, you're pregnant, sometimes you deal with a little bit of constipation.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm finally going to go to the bathroom. And I remember getting up, and the minute I stood up, my water broke.
Okay.
And at the time, I was only 20 weeks and 3 days pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that this was not going to be a good outcome.
Yeah.
I was shocked and nervous, and kind of all these emotions were just overtaking me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, being taken to the emergency room via ambulance. And I got to triage, and I didn't make it to a room. He was born in triage.
Oh.
He was born at 9:20 a.m. He was 1 pound, 3 ounces, 10 inches long, and he was perfect. My special little guy. Yeah. I just didn't know what to think. I don't know. I kept thinking, did I do something? Did I miss something?
Yeah.
So that's like the gist of it. So everything happened so quickly.
Yeah.
And that was over 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I still remember that day like it was yesterday. After having him, I would say it was a little unstable because I was unsure how to feel. Because I didn't know did I do something wrong? Did I miss something? I blame myself a lot because I am a nurse. And so I'm like, Liz, you're a nurse. You should have recognized the signs of labor, even though I have no children. I should have recognized the signs. And it was hard to reconcile that they could not tell me what definitively happened.
Yeah.
And so that bothered me a lot because it was like, well, why can't you tell me?
Yeah.
It didn't sit well with me. And I know that you can't always know. There are most miscarriages and stillbirths they just kind of happen.
Yeah.
And so, that was hard, but mentally it was. Even now, on some days, most days I'm really good, honestly. Most days I'm really good. But there are times when I'm just like, this really sucks. If I can be honest, I just how it feels, especially that I am the only child of my parents who doesn't have a child. So my siblings all have multiple children. And it was hard because he was the one that I fought for. So that was rough. I think my biggest help, I guess, if you want to call it, is the fact that I am a healthcare provider myself.
Okay.
So I did a lot of advocating for myself, and sometimes again didn't seem to work very much, but just trying to, it felt like I was ignored almost a little bit. And not taken seriously. And I know that he was the doctor in the ER was just kind of uncomfortable because I was, again, his first patient. Most doctors will tell you, especially ER doctors will tell you that they have no idea how to treat obstetrics patients. They are very nervous and they don't know what to do. And so when I came in, again, I understand that this is your first time. However, sensitivity is important, very important. And I don't think I got that.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to talk about it. I remember when I suffered my loss. Well, let me not say that. Okay, let me rephrase that. When I had my son, it was like maybe a couple weeks later. I went back to church, and people were kind of pulling me to the side, kind of whispering. It happened to me too. It
Mm,
happened to me too. I had a lady tell me it happened to her 6 times
mm,
before she gave birth. She had a live birth, but
yeah,
it was almost like something that was kind of hush hush.
yeah, yeah.
Like, "Hey, this happened, I understand. And
Mhm.
I don't know if it was more of, I don't want your business out or whatnot,
Mhm.
but it was almost like this secret group that you became a part of
Yeah.
without being asked to, and nobody knows about it until you become a part of it.
Yeah.
And somebody needs to put a face with these losses, because statistics are saying something to the effect of, Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to have a loss, but we're not talking about it amongst family. We're
Mhm.
not talking it amongst each other until it happens. And so we need to talk about it more, and
Yeah.
don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't let someone tell you that you need to put a time limit on your grief, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yes,
Um,
it does.
I actually had people, say things like, "Oh, it's been 6 months, it's been 2 years." Yeah, but he was mine and he is still mine. Again, I say there is not a day that doesn't go by that I don't think about him. I literally think about him
Thank you, his
every
mom.
day. Absolutely. And because of that, he is a part of me. Part of me, when people ask, do I have children? I didn't even know what to say. And I know a lot of women may go through that, because do I say I have a child, and I say I have an angel baby,
Mm,
but people may not feel that comfortable. And so it leaves you with all these different questions. Do I say I have 3 kids, or do I say I have two and one is deceased, and
mm,
that kind of thing. So they have to find their own comfortability, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, definitely, yeah.
And if, speaking about your child and saying, I do have 4 children, but one is deceased, then do that.
Mhm, mhm,
But
mhm.
yeah, just talk about it. It's okay. And
Yeah.
it's okay not to be okay all the time. I made sure I went to therapy. My first therapist, I love him to pieces, but he was a middle-aged white man.
Mhm,
And he tried his best to help me as
mhm,
much as he could, but could not really understand, you
mm,
know, what I was going through. And so I stopped going to therapy because I felt like, oh, I'm fine.
mm,
I'm good. And I think a lot of it was just it wasn't a good match with
mhm,
my therapist. And then most recently, recognizing that I wasn't okay.
mhm,
I
mhm,
started going back to therapy, and I found a black um female
mhm,
therapist who could relate and who I could talk to,
mhm,
and was
mhm.
able to relate more. And so that was very helpful. So yes, please, therapy, it is okay. I say
Yes,
all the time, therapy plus Jesus is healing. That is
yes,
it. That
yes.
is what
You
it
can have
has.
both. You can absolutely have both.
And you absolutely need both,
Mhm, mhm.
especially when you're experiencing something like this. You absolutely need both.
Definitely.
During research, I was reading how a lot of parents, when
Mhm,
they experienced their loss, they felt like the healthcare provider was distant,
mhm, mhm.
because they were uncomfortable themselves with the
Yes.
fact that their patient just lost the baby,
Mm,
and they couldn't give their patient an answer. And
mhm.
so that's the first thing, that they need to be honest with themselves. And then
Yeah.
secondly, listen to your patients. you
Mhm,
know Take time. Like, this is a difficult subject for everybody all around, but especially for the patient who just lost their child. you
mhm,
know
mhm,
don't rush in and say, oh, I got a couple, I'm busy, I'll be back, and then you don't come back.
mm,
Or they don't feel like their patients don't feel like they're being heard.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so try your best to make sure that you're hearing everything that you're saying. You're recognizing that they may not know which questions to ask. And so, again, when I had my loss, I was glad that my doctor mentioned, hey, did you know that you can get your baby christened? I had no idea. That
Mm.
was like the last thing on my mind. So
Yeah,
sometimes you have
yeah,
to stay 2 or 3 steps ahead for
yeah.
your patient. You have to kind of anticipate their needs, what they may be thinking. Sometimes, make offers or suggestions like, do you want to take pictures? And even if you don't want to keep them, we keep our pictures for a year. So
Mhm.
just in case you decide you want the pictures of your baby, like, make offers and suggestions.
Yeah.
But again, anticipating their needs. My hope is that one day within Washtenaw County, I don't even know if there is one, I don't think so, that there will be support groups and support resources geared toward African American parents. I was able to find some, like in Cleveland, they started their own because again, Cleveland is kind of like Detroit. They had a high infant loss rate, perinatal loss rate. And so they started their own organization called PALS. PALS. And they found it very helpful, and it was geared just towards African Americans. And I think we need that in Washtenaw County, even though if there's a larger Caucasian community, that's all the more reason why we need it. Somebody needs to be looking out for us.
If you or a loved one has had a similar traumatic experience to those shared by the mothers in these videos, please consider their advice and seek resources such as support groups or grief therapy. It can make a world of difference. Again, thank you for listening to them share their story.